There
Hey, Chaz.
we go. Okay.
Yay. All right. Yeah, we've just been chatting a bit and we've gotten some random questions, but I think maybe we'll try to smash through those because I really want to talk about Revea so today we're doing is we're doing a live chat. This is Chaz of Revea. He's one of the founders and they're a precision skincare brand, as you can probably tell from the title. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen stuff about custom skincare and precision skincare and AI and algorithm-based skincare. And I have been a pretty big skeptic because I'm sure a lot of you have seen these before. You fill in a quiz and then you send some photos maybe, and then you get some custom products. And usually there's like 3 products they'll send you. One's like dry skin moisturizer, oily skin moisturizer, or normal skin moisturizer. And then they'll give you a serum that has like
Yeah.
really standard ingredients like niacinamide, retinol. And yeah, so far I just really haven't been impressed because I feel like I could probably get better products from asking some salesperson at Sephora. But Revea, the reason we're doing this live is because I have actually been really impressed by Revea. It just seems like the first custom skincare brand where it just seems really well thought through. I've looked through the technical documents. I was actually working with Revea on how to communicate it because it is really complex. It is, yeah, like as you would expect, in custom skincare is going to be complex. So, yeah, I thought it would be best to let Chaz explain it. So, yeah, Chaz, can you give us a quick rundown of how Revea works?
Absolutely. So I'm lost you on video, but I'm just making sure you can still see me. You good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're having a little difficulty. So super excited. So we're having a little bit of bounce around back and forth. I was like seeing invites and trying to click through. But yeah, so Revea, I think the easiest way to really think about it is it's kind of like having your own dermatologist and formulation chemist, so to speak. So what we're doing is actually connecting individual skin biology to your optimal ingredients and formulation levels, concentrations, etc. And so while the technology behind that is pretty complex, as you said, and we've had a lot of conversation on that, from the user standpoint, it's actually pretty easy. So you would do kind of a scan, which we're using scanning technology. It kind of looks like Face ID as you rotate through. And in that, we're measuring about 40 different skin parameters and subparameters and over 1 million different data points. And these are going to be things like oxygen saturation and blood flow, collagen, elastin, et cetera. And we take all of that data and then that delivers a detailed skin health report to you that you get to look through, understand kind of where your skin is at. And then all of that information then rolls into the bio-customized formulation. So we create individual made-to-order formulas that would ship out to you in about 2 days. And then those formulas actually learn with you over time. So as your skin changes, we change and adapt with you and reformulate as you go along your skincare journey. So that's kind of the quick rundown of it, but I'm sure we'll dive into more of the tech.
Yeah, so I guess before we get into like all the details of those different steps, the scan and then like the data and then like the products and then how that feeds back, um, there is a lot, yeah. So we deep dive into all of
Indeed.
these, but I guess how did you come up with Revea? What was like the problem you were trying to solve?
Yeah, for sure. So I think if I take a little mini step back in that, I've been in skincare for about 10 years. So I was running innovation for Estee Lauder companies. My co-founder, Dr. Marstrand, he is a PhD in bioinformatics. He was in pharmaceutical dermatology. And we both were just really frustrated with how products are made, how they're formulated, how they're tested today. And what I mean by that is when you look at the diversity of our world and you compare that to how products are made, when a product's developed, maybe it's tested on 20, 30 people, right? You're well aware of this, as I'm sure most of your audience is. And oftentimes that's not representative. So one of my co-founders is Indian. So let's assume that or guess that she made it into one of those clinical trials. And that's a big if because many times they're not super diverse. But if she did make it in there, she would represent 500 million other Indian and Southeast Asian women and how a product and ingredients are going to work for their skin. Like when you say it in that way, like it's absurd. It doesn't make any sense, right? And so the way that products are being developed today kind of forces us into these generic buckets, right? It's oily, dry, normal, right? Or it's black skin or Indian skin or male skin, but that doesn't really represent our biology. And we know that our skin is individual. It's driven by our biology. So what we wanted to do was break out of kind of those big generic types because the technology now exists. And so we wanted to get rid of what is the trial and error and trying to find the right products for you. I mean, you talk about this, you educate us all the time on how do you find ingredients for you and how do you connect those in the products. We wanted to use science and technology to actually help do that and then deliver in products that are actually made for our individual biology instead of, you know, kind of the more generic side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned the thing about the skin color, because from my understanding, when it comes to product testing, a lot of the time they do default to white skin. And one of the reasons that we don't really talk that much about is actually because it's easier to see reactions on white skin. Like it is really just that. It is, if someone goes red, that's usually the sign of irritation. And so obviously black skin is a lot harder to see. It takes a little longer, and it's just, yeah, it's not even, I mean, there's so much stuff with things like structural racism, but this is just such a, like, it's not even like racism, but it ends up with these like very notable results because, it's just really bizarre.
And then it just makes our life hard, right? Because then we're trying to find products that work for us and like the way that they're being made and tested. And I think the industry just hasn't had the tools, right? And now they're there. And that's what we're really, you know, trying to push the industry forward to just make better skincare, right?
Yeah. So one of the reasons I was like, honestly, I have had so many custom skincare brands approach me and with me and stuff. And Revea is the first I have agreed to do because, honestly, I'm not just saying this because, like, there was I think most of my audience do know this, but there is like a very long conversation that I have with every brand before I take on any sponsorships, because I want to be able to endorse. I'm one of those people who just can't lie. Like, it's really obvious in my face. And I think even in our, which was, I think it was 90 minutes long, where you explained all of Revea, like you could probably see me start off super skeptical. I was just like, really hard ass. Then I'm like, okay, this, like, you've answered every question.
I remember that we went through about 3 papers, and the first question was like, but no, it just doesn't. But how do you actually do that with ingredients? And as we got there, it was a great conversation, but it definitely moved over time.
I felt kind of bad. Like, I felt like I was, you know, the academic just bullying some poor little first year student.
Nah, not at all. I was excited to pass the test because I was like, if we get through this one, then you know, it's legit, right?
Yeah. So one of the reasons, I think you probably would have expected this because you have so many impressive people on board. So can you take me through some of the people on your team? You already mentioned the PhD in bioinformatics as one of the other founders.
For sure. And as you said, like there's definitely a lot happening in personalization. And I think it makes sense because we all want things that are made for us, right? But our team is definitely a big piece of what made Revea possible and what sets us apart. So, you know, just to name a few, as I'm sure I can't name all of them in the time, but my co-founder, as I said, Dr. Marstrand, a PhD in bioinformatics. He was actually leading up precision dermatology at Leo Pharmaceutical. And so developing, you know, very targeted dermatological drugs, right, for individual patients, matching biology to pharmaceutical chemistry. Our formulations were developed, and the thinking behind our formulation engine by Dr. Lieve de Klerk, who is a PhD in skin physiology and organic chemistry. She actually used to lead all of R&D for Estee Lauder companies. We worked together for a while, and you know, she came over to kind of help bring this industry forward as well. All the way through Dr. Roxana Danishu, who's one of our advisors. She's a clinical scholar at Stanford, and she's one of the leaders in AI and the skin of color, and actually removing bias by using AI to build more robust data sets to tackle the problem you were mentioning before, right? Like most things are tested on Caucasian and white skin. And so she's really leading that charge. You know, all the way down to Dr. Joel Dudley, who used to be the kind of executive lead of precision medicine at Mount Sinai. So we've kind of assembled this team of very diverse scientists who understand biology and formulation chemistry and precision medicine and dermatology to really help us think about how we take the best technologies from all of those disciplines and then use that to improve consumer skincare in a way that just hasn't been done before.
Yeah, and I was really impressed when I saw Dr. Roxana was on board with this because I've been following her on Twitter for a long time. She's very vocal how AI dermatology always has this issue with being tested on data sets that are largely white skin. And so, like honestly, once I saw she was on board, I'm like, okay, so the AI part with the all the biases, that is sorted.
Yeah.
And of course, there's you as well. Like you have the background in the industry, which I think is one of the things that a lot of these like more academic seeming brands are missing. They don't have that industry knowledge of like how to make safe products, how to
Yeah.
what's already been trialed and tested in the industry. So I think that is also super cool. All right, maybe we can go through all the steps in the process now. So as Chaz mentioned at the start, if anyone missed it, the first step is doing a scan of the face. So a lot of the time, I mean, it sort of echoes how any of us would approach skincare, but we're using these tech tools on top of that. So first step is always analyze your own skin, work out what your problems are, and then match ingredients to those problems. So how do we kind of, I guess, improve on our skin assessment with the scan?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's about doing that matching. What we're doing is just bringing more, I guess, visibility for the literal definition of that, in the sense that we're bringing derm level tools to actually look below the surface of skin to understand what's happening. Because what we see in the mirror, what we're concerned about is a product of a lot of things happening underneath and of complex biology. And so what we're doing is bringing tools that allow us to see through skin and to actually measure those layers of skin. So when we think about the parameters that we measure, we're going to go from the surface down and think about surface texture and skin tone and hydration to skin milieu, which is like the environment and the blood flow, to our energy supply, all the way down to the dermal fibers. And then we break down all of those pieces in between. And the way that we do that in kind of the measurement technology is really about bringing what's called hyperspectral imaging, which is a NASA-based technology that allows you to kind of use wavelengths of light to see through surfaces. It's what, Stanford astrophysicists use to see if there's carbon on a faraway planet, because carbon has a unique signature within those wavelengths of light. We've adapted that same technology to now measure skin biology. So we use those wavelengths to actually measure things like oxygen saturation and blood flow and elastin by finding their unique signature within those kind of spectral wavelengths. Really kind of geeky way to kind of talk about it, but that's kind of the end product. And so that scan is what starts to then help us understand your individual biology. I can get a little bit more into it in a moment of how we actually got there from what we did in San Francisco and things like that. But then that scan connects into our kind of pharmaceutical dermatology AI, which allows us to then take all of those measurements and then connect them to the biology. And what I mean by that is when you think about what we see in the mirror, that's a manifestation of that biology. So if I had hyperpigmentation, which is something I suffer from, that's going to be caused by some kind of breakout or inflammatory response, right? And then the body's flowing, blood flow to that area, and then that triggers a melanin response in the chromophores. And now I have to deal with that melanin production, but those are specific biological pathways, right? So we map that biology and then connect that to the ingredients that actually work on those pathways such that we understand your profile and then the ingredients. And then that's what the models really are optimizing for as we think about the formulations for everybody. So I'll stop there for a moment so we don't go too far down. But
Yeah, so like from like a consumer sort of standpoint, the way you do this is you go to the website and then you set up the scan, which is all free, by the way. And then you've got like, you see yourself in this little, well, I've got my phone here. So you see yourself on the thing, and then it tells you to like, you fill in a bunch of questions as you would expect, and then it scans your face. So it tells you to tilt your face a particular way and another way, and then it gives you these really detailed results. So even if you don't end up buying Revea, I highly recommend everyone at least try the scan, because the results are super interesting. It analyzes it analyzes your skin. It does it in tons of detail. If anyone has tried one of those, what's the name of those machines? The Visier.
Yeah, the Visier ones, yep.
It's like that, except through your phone. So these are the things where you put your chin on a thing, and then this camera scans your face and it shows you all your pigment underneath. Yeah. It's like that, but with your camera phone, which is super cool. So yeah, as Chaz said, it analyzes your skin and then it maps what ingredients would treat that. But then there is this extra layer, which is the bit that super impressed me, which is the bit where after you've started trying a Revea product. So the products, they look really lovely. And yeah, the outside it's one of those refill systems. So you keep getting the refill, and the outside is like a nice thing that you keep for as long as you're using the Revea system. So the extra layer. As you're using these products, your skin will obviously react to them and change based on that. So one of the questions I asked Chaz was, how do you know what treats what best? Because everyone has different responses. Some people, vitamin C works amazing for the pigments. Some people, it just doesn't. It's too irritating. So can you go into that feedback, that individual feedback loop part? Because that blew me.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the special parts, and that's, you know, hats off to my co-founder in this one. It is, what we're doing is the way that we talked about like clinical trials before and what was wrong with them. We're moving that now to basically run those clinicals with each and every person. So when you start to use Revea, we've gone through, we analyze skin, we predict, you know, the formulation that's going to be best for you, the levels, all those things. But as you said, there's still nuances in how each individual reacts to vitamin C or to a different formula. So as you would be using the product and as we measure over time, we now start to understand your skin and how it moves and how it reacts to ingredients, how it changes through stress and hormone cycles, seasons, all of these different things that we know affect skin. And all of that data goes into now making your next formulation even better. And that's not just for you, but it's also from the entire Revea community. So there are pieces that are very unique and individual to us about our skin, but there are pieces that are certainly shared. And so you and I may have something similar in our skin profiles or our phenotypes that we can pull out from a data science standpoint. And now when I measure my skin, you get the benefit of what we now know, new information about how this particular piece of biology interacts with these ingredients in these ways. And so that feedback loop just keeps making your individual formula smarter, as well as the overall Revea and kind of community of skincare smarter as we go forward. And as we add more ingredients and as technology continues to advance, it just continues to build on itself instead of kind of the old world where you'd have to like find one, our skin changes, and then you have to start that process all over again. We wanted to build a system that really can be smart and learn and adapt with you.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So I think most of more advanced skincare people, like we go through the same sort of journey when we do our own skin. Like every step of that kind of well-established journey, it's just there is extra tech and extra data to feed all of that. And I found that really clever because, yes, so many custom skincare companies, it is literally just based on the quiz. It literally just like helps you find, like, there's just not that extra, I guess, order of magnitude of info. So yeah, I guess so we've gone through the scan, we've talked about the ingredients. Now the custom formulations, this part I was also really impressed by because so many brands only have like a handful of formulas, but Revea have a ton. I can't remember exactly how many you have.
We're like 3,300 and counting, something like that.
Yeah, so it's super clever, and it is all like if you go to a compounding chemist, which I think is the closest you can get, this is where a chemist will, like, you give them a formula and they will make it on the spot. So the problem with that is always like they make it on the spot. There's no there's optimization. A lot of the time, if you've tried it, it's like gritty, it separates really quickly, it goes off really quickly. So how has Revea gotten around that? How do you make such customized products without having all these like aesthetic issues?
Yeah, there's a lot in that question, so allow me to unpack in a few different ways. I think the first thing is you're right. It's a question of how do you get to the actual ingredients, right? So, you know, we evaluated about 1,000 different active ingredients, something like that, from our, you know, all the scientists that we were talking before, and we're running through that through the evidence and kind of the clinical efficacy of all of those ingredients, and we narrowed that down to about 30 or so actives that were targeted for that kind of biology to ingredient mechanism action that we were talking about before. And now from those, we now select for each individual, right, as it comes in. So historically, products have been made for what can you put in and make 10,000 products of, right? So they're all combined in 10,000 gallon kind of, you know, vats, and then, you know, made, and then they sit on the shelf. What we did was we actually put in new technology to think about, instead of how can we make as many as cheaply as possible, we said, how can we make exactly what you need right at the right time? And so you change the order of operations, so to speak. So instead of putting all of the inventory that gets held in traditional system in finished products, we created building blocks of formulas of those 30 different actives ingredients, and then use some different technology that I won't share too much about, but in a way that allows us to actually combine those, and where we can make every single one of them on demand and made to order. And so with those actives, we can now take your individual profile, my individual profile, your order comes in, and we can make that in about 3 to 5 minutes, and then actually be able to ship that out. So we can still be very scalable. And the other thing that's really interesting is it's actually better for our planet too, right? Because in traditional skincare, 10 to 15% of those products go to landfill because they expire, right, when they're in finished products. When you make that in this kind of on-demand world, you have a much more sustainable footprint. And so it's something we're really excited about there too.
Yeah, I really love that. And I also really love just the fact that you do have all the traditional ingredients that we all know and love. So Revea is not a prescription brand, so there's obviously no one, but things like, yeah, niacinamide, vitamin C, all of those things are there, but also a whole bunch of other ones. Yeah. And the problem with, I think, me and most other skincare people, like, we're a little bit hesitant about trying those because it's so hard to tell if they're actually working. We can't see it. But with this Revea system, so as you're using the products, you keep scanning your face, and so you have this relatively objective measure of whether or not it's working, and it's specific to you. So it's not like you have to rely on blogging reviews, although that is still pretty helpful. But I mean, it's like you just spend so long searching for information. And then there's the whole problem where Google will just keep on giving you, like, they won't give you reviews anymore as your top search results. So it's getting harder and harder. And so, yeah, I love how Revea does that. So I think maybe let's go into, I think you mentioned with the scanning. Yeah. Let's go into a bit more detail with this. I saw someone asked, are you using Visiertech, or is this a completely different system? And if so, how does that work?
Absolutely. So it's a great question. It is a different system. Visiertech was one of the things that were built in, call it calibrating the system, right? Like that same kind of technology. So the system actually, or the technology underneath it, is hyperspectral imaging. And that's a very specific technology. Visiertech is doing everything on the surface. So it's high resolution that allows us to see things that are in the surface, but in just a much greater level of detail. Hyperspectral allows us to step below the skin surface, much like you would imagine in like an MRI or a CAT scan. And so we can actually use that same wavelengths that penetrate more deeply to be able to measure things that are underneath, like the oxygen saturation, the blood flow, the collagen elastin matrix, things like lipid profile, pH, that you can't pick up with more traditional systems. The way that we got there and how that was possible is we opened the first precision skincare studio in San Francisco. We have about $500,000 million worth of diagnostic equipment, like the Visiertech, other things like spatial frequency domain imaging, lots of really, really cutting edge technology coming from medical dermatology and other places. And we used all of that technology to create this big data set of skin. And then we were using machine learning models to connect that to the individual hyperspectral signatures. So like we were talking about carbon before, we now understand what it looks like on these gold standard pieces of equipment. We can map that to the signature within hyperspectral, and then we can now, using new technology, actually transform your smartphone to gather that same data from that scan that we do. And so it's a pixel by pixel level analysis, a million different data points that is able to reconstruct that biology. So kind of geeky in that way, but when we've all seen it in the sense of like self-driving cars where they're using all these different sensors, some light we see, some light we don't, and then they're training them through different models to be able to drive safely around the streets. We took that same kind of computational approach into skincare, training that for a biology perspective.
Yeah. There was also another question, which was, yes, what is the best lighting conditions for the scan? Because I feel like, yeah, a lot of it, there is always user error, even when you're trying to check self of yourself. And then face is tilted slightly different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone asked, how do we get the scan done? If you're in San Francisco, you can go to the Revea studio. If you're not, you can do it on your phone. It's at myrevea.com.
Yeah, so lighting conditions, like any diagnostic, how you do it is obviously important. So as you go through, there's a little tutorial about finding the right lighting. We actually have some guides that are going to measure some of that light for you to help you get to a good, even light source. And the most important thing really is consistency. And so it's, you know, taking and measuring using kind of the same light around the same time, right? So if I measured, you know, right in the morning, then in the middle of the night, and then in bathroom lights, like that dynamic makes it a little bit more challenging, but we still have ways to overcome that. So a more consistent measure is really important. And then also what we do is we measure and scan. The more frequently that you scan, the more we're able to actually understand those variations, and that starts to work itself out over time. So it really is something that the more that you participate, the better it gets, the smarter it gets in that process. But like everything, there is, you know, a bit of consistency and a bit of kind of like user instructions that go into that.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that repeating will help you get more reliable results, because that is like such a fundamental aspect of science. And I love when I talk to you, it's just there are just these things where I'm just like, yep, yeah. It makes me feel much yeah, it's like well, I mean, I like it because it validates my gut feeling that this is the way to do customization. So yes, this, I saw someone ask, is the scan free? Yes, you just go to myrevea.com, you do the scan. It is a bit long because they do take so much data into account when they analyze your skin. But yeah, you get a report of all the different aspects of your skin. Yeah, and then that matches it to particular products. You can see what ingredients are in the products, and then you can order those products. Or you can take it off, have a look at that and sleep on it, and yeah, just reflect on the results, which I think is valuable information, even if you don't end up trying the system. Yeah, and also,
if I can touch on that really fast, because that actually was really important for us. Like one of the things we thought a lot about was we want to democratize dermatology, right? Like we want to bring cutting edge science, and that's one of the ways. So for us, making that free and allowing people to have those tools that you can be in charge of your skin was super important. So that's really exciting for us when people use it, even if they're not purchasing the product. So I really do, would love people to try it out, because it gives you a lot of information, and also it allows, skincare to get smarter, right? It allows all the community to benefit from more understanding of skin biology in our diverse world.
Yeah. And so with the products, can you quickly explain the number of products in the system, and what the point of each product is? So, yes.
I'm glad you grabbed my kit, because my team is going to yell at me. I didn't bring that right in front of me. So there's 3 products we make custom, the bio-customized serums. So there's an AM serum and a PM serum. Those are made to order based on your individual biology. The serums are about $75 when you think about the individual serum. And then the kit together starts around $200. The moisturizer, there's 4 different textures. Those are all kind of customized based on your individual preference, which you would select in there, from a very aqueous gel, very light on top, to a very, kind of pampering, luxurious, soft creme, right, from that standpoint. And inside that kit, you're actually going to get a booklet, and inside that booklet, it's going to have the kind of detailed skin health report, the ingredients, how those ingredients are actually connected to the things that were measured. And a lot of people take that and kind of just start to do a bit more homework and read up on that. And then you'll have a few little treats and extras that come in that kit as well. And all the packaging, as Michelle mentioned, is refillable, as that sustainability is really, really important to us. And we actually have those refills that, come out as you measure, and then just part of the overall system.
Yeah, and as Chaz mentioned before, if anyone missed it, as you're using the products, you do more and more scans. It measures how your skin is responding to the ingredients in your products, and then it will tweak your formulation for next time based on, is your skin responding to this particular ingredient well? You'll keep it, or it'll ramp up. If it's not, then we'll try something we didn't touch on, which is because Revea has all of this bases their ingredient choices on pathways, then they can pick an ingredient that targets the same result but works by a different biological path, because so you can try something that is the next most likely to work. There isn't any tretinoin or hydroquinone because this is not a prescription brand. So it is our skincare ingredients like niacinamide, vitamin C, that sort of thing. So it's not the prescription ones because that would not be ethical without a proper doctor.
Yeah, proper doctor, and then you also can't combine those in the same ways when you go there. But yeah, and then I think the other thing, as you're talking about it changing based on those measurements, is we also know our skin change, right? Seasons, and as you said, hormones and other things. And so it really is around as your skin improves, both from formulation you're in, or it changes based on you were just in Australia and you came to New York for 6 months, right? That kind of change we're also accounting for to kind of update from a formulation perspective.
Yeah, and there was a question which was, can you use it with products like tretinoin?
Yep, absolutely, and that's a great question. And one of the things we haven't touched on is part of Revea and what we do is actually connecting into that expertise. So every Revea member is able and customer is able to access our formulation chemist and our skin biologist, and that's one of the #1 questions that comes up in those consults. So this is a one-to-one conversation that you have. They can pull up all of your skin data, and you're using tretinoin, and they say, great, well, here's what we see, and here's what your formulation is individually, and here's how we recommend that you use those two together, or here's the kind of cleansers that might work based on what we know about your skin barrier. So again, it's just using all of that data and understanding to help you build out your entire skincare journey for products we make and products we don't. But that's part of bringing that expertise to everybody.
There was another question, which is how long does each product last? Like, when do you get your updated version?
Yep. So the serums are 30 ml and the moisturizer is 50 ml. It's intended to be about 3 months. So some a little faster, some a little longer, depending on how that fits in the regimen. But about 3 months is what they're designed to last.
Yeah, and how often would you recommend rescanning your skin during those 3 months?
It really depends on you. When you first start, we're going to take a few baseline measures because we know skin does change in the day and the week. And so we're going to understand, your baseline versus my baseline. And then from there, we'd encourage you to measure about once a month because it just allows us to understand how it goes. We have some people that measure, every other day. And we have some that measure, kind of as the refills are coming out. But because it's on mobile and it's so easy, it really is just up to you as an individual.
Yeah, and it's always so interesting to see the results update as well because you get a comprehensive report every time, and you can see how your skin is reacting in that particular weather. If you're, I don't know, if you started like a new, I don't know, like if you started using, let's say, a humidifier or something, you can see how that is actually working for your skin. Do we have any other questions for Chaz? I feel like we've gone through a lot.
I know we covered a lot of ground really fast.
We have. And yes, I will be doing a blog post and a video about the whole system because I feel like it is so complex. I really want to do it justice. But yeah, I thought it would be nice to do a bit of a chat with Chaz in the meantime, just to introduce everyone to the idea and see what questions people had. Does it cost to speak to one of Revea's chemists?
No, that's. I'm sorry, what was the second part of that?
Yeah, once you're using the products, if you want to talk to a chemist.
No, that's just part of as you're a Revea customer, and that's just part of being part of the Revea community.
Yeah. Any clinics coming to Australia or anywhere outside San Francisco?
It is in our roadmap. We are still a very young company, so we have a few things to tackle as we continue with that. But we definitely want to expand what we do in the kind of physical experience, as well as what we do in the mobile experience. For us, as I said, it was around democratizing, that cutting edge technology, and we can do that the fastest via the mobile and bringing that. And those kind of physical locations allow us to be with consumers and really integrate very new technology. So we'll definitely keep building those out, but it'll be a little slower pace than the mobile.
I don't know if you can answer this, but I did see that Revea is partnering. I think you've had an investment from Ulta. I don't know if you can tell us more about any future.
So Ulta Beauty is one of our investors and partners. there's several things that we've been working with them, and some great things that we have coming. We actually have an IG live with them in I think in about a week or two as well. So we're really excited about that. I can't speak to very specifics in that one quite yet, but we're really excited about it. They're big believers in technology and personalization, and see that as the future. And so we're really excited to be working with them on a lot of really interesting things right now. So more to come on that.
Yeah, and yes, everything is in USD. Where do you ship at the moment? Which countries?
Today we are only US where we're shipping, so I apologize to anyone who is overseas at the moment. We will get there very quickly. We have approvals to be shipping in other places. It's just a matter of, as I said, being a young company and making sure we scale up and do it well by every consumer. So we'll get there very soon, but today is US only.
I think that's really understandable. As an Australian, I would much rather a company say, sorry, we can't ship there, than to get a promise and then not get anything for like and then get like a tattered box. That's not hard thing because like
exactly. I think that's actually what happened to you when we were shipping over, wasn't it? Like you were like, I think this unboxing would have been beautiful, but customs seems to have taken them all out.
They always do that. It's like, so during the pandemic, it got even worse because I'm pretty sure I have about 100 parcels sitting in some warehouse in San Francisco, which I will never see. Maybe I'll see it in 20 years' time. I'll just get moldy stuff. So how many locations do you have in San Francisco? Is it just one studio?
So just one studio from a consumer standpoint. I'm actually sitting in our formulation lab. That was one thing we didn't talk about in the manufacturing. We own our own formulation, our own manufacturing labs. So one studio in San Francisco in the Marina, and then our manufacturing and formulation is in the South Bay nearby.
Cool. Yeah, I might be coming to San Francisco later this year, hopefully.
Awesome.
So
definitely let me know, please.
Come and visit and check everything out. So
Absolutely.
just to recap, Revea is a precision skincare company. They have a lot of tech which goes into scanning your face and then giving you a report, analyzing what is going on with your face, and then making custom products with ingredients selected through lots of machine learning, AI, technical stuff. Their company has lots and lots of really knowledgeable people behind it, which is why one of the reasons why I agreed to listen to Chaz explain it for a long time, because it is quite complex. They have lots of PhDs in bioinformatics, in pharmaceuticals, and Chaz has tons of experience working in the skincare industry. So we've got this marriage of academic knowledge and practical know-how. And so there's this customized skincare company. You can go to My Revea to try the skin scan for yourself. It is free to do the scan. You can get the results for free, and then it will show you the products it has selected for you, and you can choose whether or not to order them. It is a subscription basis, but you can cancel at any time. And I think there is a 90-day guarantee.
90-day guarantee, and we actually just opened it up. You can do one-time purchases as well as subscription. So you have your choice in how you would like to try.
Excellent. Yes, I appreciate that because I have ADHD and I always forget to cancel subscriptions. So yeah, that is a very ADHD friendly feature.
Absolutely.
So again, myrevea.com. I will have a video and a blog post about Revea coming, although it is quite complex. Hopefully this was an interesting chat. If anyone has any extra questions, you can, I'll be posting this to my feed, so you can comment on that and we can answer those questions. But yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me, Chaz.
Thank you. It was lovely. And I'm glad we got past a little technical difficulties, but yeah, super excited to chat and glad we got to speak again.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, and hope everyone enjoyed that. They will be posted.
Okay, bye-bye.